Hi, today I'd like to talk about measuring pH and parts per million in your nutrient solution. It's really important to have the proper pH and parts per million in your nutrient solution for different reasons. If the pH is not set properly, the nutrients that you're using aren't available for the plant. There's some really good charts that are available that show you the exact pH that your nutrient solution should be set in, so that you know exactly what nutrients are available to the plant. So we'll do a demonstration, a very simple one, just to save a bit of time. And at the same time, I'd like to introduce BlueLab, which comes from New Zealand. It's a very high quality range of testing equipment. There's different monitors and pens that we can show you in a little bit, but first we'll get on with our demonstration. So we have a jug of water. It's close to 4 liters. We're just going to be using a simple 2-part plant food today. We're not doing a whole line or a big recipe, which is normally what you would do. You'd be mixing, 5 or 6 different ingredients into the water, but we'll just do a simple 2-part today. So this is the Innovating Plant Products Grow A and B. It's just a simple grow food for your vegetative stage, and we add it to the water at 2 mils per liter. So there's 2 mils of A. Just 2 mils of B. We'll mix those up. This is just city water, which is usually neutral, but we know in Campbell River our water can fluctuate a little bit, so it's important to measure it anyway. So we're taking the pH probe, putting it in the nutrient solution, seeing what the pH is. It's coming out at 6.2, which is perfect for the vegetative stage. We don't have to adjust it. In the vegetative stage, we want our pH to be between 6.2 and 6.4, and that means that the most amount of nitrogen is available to your plant. So all the nitrogen that's in this plant food is hopefully being available to the plant. But it gets a little bit more complicated than that. We're also going to measure the parts per million. So there's different ways to measure your conductivity factor. Can be called electrical conductivity parts per million, which is measured usually in 2 different scales, a 500 and a 700 scale. It's important to know where your nutrients coming from so that you know you're measuring in the proper scale. We know with Innovating Plant Products we're in the 500 scale, so we're going to be measuring in parts per million with the 500 scale, and our reading is 540, which is a very gentle reading, which is fine for our young plant that we'll be working on today. So that's the pH and the parts per million measured. We actually also have a temperature here, which is probably a bit chilly, and it's showing that it's a little bit chilly, but that's okay for today's demonstration. Normally you want your water to be around 70 degrees, not any warmer than 70, between 65 and 70 to also get a proper reading, and it's not shocking for your plant. So the trick I want to show you today is when you measure, now that we've got our measured water and we're watering our plant, it's very important to get a runoff every time that you water your plant in any stage that it's in. You're looking for a 10 to 30% runoff. It's rule of thumb. So we've got probably a 30% runoff here. So I'm going to take that runoff and measure it. This is also called a drain to waste system. in an ideal sense, you would not leave this plant sitting in water. You would get rid of the runoff to keep your plant nice and flushed. If the plant is left sitting in a nutrient solution, the nutrients will all soak back up into that plant eventually, and you get a salt buildup, which can be really dangerous for your plants. The pH is still saying 6.2. Oh, it's gone down to 6.1, so it's slightly acidic, but it gives an idea of where our root zone is. If this runoff was below 6.1, it's starting to get a bit into the acidic range for a plant that's in the vegetative stage. And we might want to compensate by bringing our pH up a bit in our nutrient solution to make sure that our runoff is where we want it. So in our next feeding, we'll keep track of this one, and perhaps we might raise our pH a little bit. We've got a comfort zone of between 2 and 4, so we might raise it to 6.4 and try to get a runoff of 6.2 if we know that our medium is slightly acidic due to food or whatever. The plants have the ability to change the pH sometimes. We'll also measure our nutrient solution of the runoff. This is really important. We've got a runoff of 570, which is still, very comfortable for the plant. If this runoff was starting to creep up with the parts per million, we know we're in danger of having a salt buildup in our plant. So then our next feeding would have no food or very little food. We're looking at doing a flush to try to get the nutrients out. If the runoff is less than what you're putting in, it means that your plant is uptaking a lot of that food, and you can think about giving it even more next time. So that's really a trick of hydroponics, is making sure that your plants are getting all the food that they can consume, so they're growing really fast. Now that your plant has been watered to runoff, we've got a wet weight. We can put this on a scale, or we can use our arms, which eventually become a scale as we get experienced. Do not water this plant again until it's 50% of its wet weight. That way we know that lots of oxygen is going to the roots, which is another reason that we do hydroponics. This plant's growing in cocoa, which is an excellent growing media because it allows a lot of oxygen to the roots. But next time you water, have the plant at 50% of its wet weight, start over with your nutrients, measure the runoff, and you'll be very happy with how healthy and happy your plant is.